In this video, we will try to understand the high-level architecture of any Kubernetes-based cluster. The Kubernetes cluster is a set of machines required for running any containerized-based application. And at minimum, Kubernetes cluster will contain one master node and one or more worker machine, which we call as worker node. Okay, so this is the high-level structure of any Kubernetes cluster. So which will have one master node and it will have one or multiple worker nodes. Now we will see what are the critical components any master node will contain and what are the critical component any worker node will contain, right? Because then only we would be able to understand how it works internally. Whenever we will deploy any components within Kubernetes cluster, how it receives the request and how it will deploy it within your worker node or worker environment. And from application perspective, pod is the smallest execution unit within Kubernetes environment. And one pod can contain one or multiple container depending upon how you package your application. Right? So if your application depends upon three different individual components, then probably we can deploy it with the help of three different containers. Right? And we can integrate all those containers so that we would be able to perform one logical unit of work. Now we'll try to understand the key component of my master node. And if we look in this diagram, you'll find that API server acts like a central gateway. So all the components within Kubernetes cluster will interact with API server. And whenever you need to interact with your Kubernetes cluster, you need to send your request to API server first. API server will validate your request. And if everything is okay, then only it would be able to perform the required operations, whatever you have asked Kubernetes to perform. So take an example of for any Kubernetes based deployment, we run a command against Kubernetes cluster and that request would be received by API server. And API server will validate and authorize that request. And once API server will find that everything is okay, then only it will deploy all the relevant components within your Kubernetes environment, right? And in similar way, all the other key components. So you can see that everything is interacting with API server. So whether it's within your master node or it's within your worker node, you can see we have different interaction coming from my worker node and we have different interaction coming from a master key components. The next key component is scheduler, and its main job is to find out which nodes are available for application deployment, right? Because say for example, if user has requested to deploy machine learning API or any application within Kubernetes environment, which will have 16 GB of RAM and 20 CPU cores. Right? So that's the requirement we have specified in the deployment artifacts, and we have requested Kubernetes to deploy my application which will meet these requirements. Okay, a scheduler will just take those information from deployment artifacts and will try to find out which nodes is available for meeting those requirements. And once scheduler will identify the appropriate nodes, it will pass those information back to API server, and API server will convey that information back to the appropriate worker node which scheduler has identified. So in this way, your application would be deployed in the appropriate worker node and which will have the required capacity to run your application. So that's the role of scheduler. Now we have another key component which we call as etcd. So etcd store all the metadata for my cluster, Kubernetes cluster. So whatever operations we are performing or whatever activities are happening within my Kubernetes environment, it stored all those status within etcd. And from time to time, API server will check the status from the etcd database or storage system. and based on that status it will act accordingly. Okay, the last key component is control manager, and its main job is to make sure that my application is running in a way it has been defined by the user in the deployment artifacts. Say for example, if user has requested to deploy 4 copies of the application and Kubernetes has initially deployed all those 4 copies within 2 worker nodes. So worker node 1 contains 2 copies of the application and the worker node 2 contains another 2 copies of the application. And due to some reason, one pod in worker node 2 has gone down. Okay, so these type of mismatch would be picked up by the control manager, right? Because control manager has noticed that this application should be running 4 copies of the application, but due to some reason one pod went down. So it will identify those mismatch and it will pass those information back to API server. And with the help of scheduler, it will identify the appropriate node for the deployment, right? So that at a given point of time, my application is running in a way it has been defined by the user. Now we'll try to understand the key components of any worker node. Okay, and if you'll notice that it has 3 critical components which will run on every worker node, which is kubelet, kubeproxy, and Docker runtime. Okay, so kubelet role is to register all worker node with the API server, right? So that API server will know which nodes are running within my Kubernetes cluster, and API server can instruct those worker node for any application deployment. And once application would be deployed within my worker node, kubelet will convey all the information back to API server about the running application instance, right? So that my API server or all the other key components within my master node would be able to identify whether the system which is running within worker node is healthy or not. And if it is not healthy, then probably master node will take corrective action to resolve it, right? So kubelet plays a very important role in overall Kubernetes architecture because it interacts and coordinates worker node operations with master node. Okay, so that's the role of kubelet. Then the next key component is kubeproxy, and its main role is to maintain the network rules on the Kubernetes nodes. Right? Because if you look carefully that all the applications are running within my container in the form of pod, and all the pod will have IP address. So kubeproxy will maintain all the network rules so that the application running inside my container could be accessed either inside the cluster or from the outside cluster. But that's the role of kubeproxy. Okay, so if we look at from the user perspective, how user will access any machine learning API running within Kubernetes cluster. Okay, because initially we have requested Kubernetes to deploy 4 copies of my machine learning API within Kubernetes cluster, and Kubernetes has deployed 2 copies of my machine learning API in worker node 1 and 2 copies in worker node 2. So Kubernetes has deployed all the components based on what we have defined in the specification. But any other user or any other application cannot directly access any application running inside Kubernetes cluster with the help of pod IP address. Because by definition, pod is transient in nature, which means it's a short-lived. And at any point of time, any of the pods can go down due to any reason. And by architecture, Kubernetes will restart those failed pod within the cluster whenever the appropriate resource would be available. It will assign those pods within that node. Okay, So how we can access the application running inside the Kubernetes cluster? Because that's the main question. And now we'll look how Kubernetes provides the features in the form of service through which any user can access your application running inside the Kubernetes cluster. The service provides a logical abstraction for the group of pods running inside your cluster, and Kubernetes assign a fixed IP address to the service. And using that fixed IP address, user can interact and service will automatically route those requests to the appropriate pod. Okay, so that's the role of service, right? Pod IP address is transient in nature, but service IP address is fixed, and using that service IP, any user will access your application running inside Kubernetes cluster. Right? So that's a very important feature. In next video, we will create one small Kubernetes cluster with one master node and two worker node. And then using different deployment artifact, we will deploy machine learning API within Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so that's it for now. I hope you like this video. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please subscribe to it, and thanks for watching it again.